Good morning, or whatever time of day it is for you when you're watching this, and welcome to our virtual Parents Weekend. It is, of course, challenging and really somewhat sad for us not to be together, because Parents Weekend is always a wonderful opportunity for new parents to meet other parents, their children's teachers and friends, and for returning parents to kind of refresh themselves and meet new parents, and all of that, good connection that comes with this occasion every year. It's also an opportunity to kind of gain the perspective that I think all of us need when we gather, and can get the bigger picture of just what a wonderful school this is, and how productive and impressive our students are, and how hard our teachers are working for their success. Because I think, the individual parent, the individual student, the individual teacher can sometimes get, too focused on a particular issue or subject and not see that bigger picture. So often Parents Weekend is that opportunity for us all to reset and refresh. So I'm hoping that you can do this virtually, and I would just like to introduce the weekend to you. First of all, let me strongly encourage you to see the different, your students' teachers' videos, so you can meet them and learn from them their expectations for their class and their goals, and if, particularly for new parents who may not have, and also for new teachers, this is a real opportunity to get to know them just that much better, albeit virtually. I want to begin by expressing my thanks and appreciation to everybody in this extraordinary year, but most especially to our teachers for their extraordinary effort in this pandemic. Creating and maintaining our bubble is a challenge for the adults in our community, and not just the students. And I think in some ways maybe particularly a challenge for our younger teachers, who really have to live a very settled and focused life, really for the sake of your children. And that's not what most 22 to 30-year-olds are doing. And I think it's just very, very well done on their part, and they're doing a very good job. We also, as you know, have lowered our classroom density as a precaution, and we do that with, I guess 80 students now being virtual, but also with asking our faculty who teach 4 sections to teach 5 sections. Some already did, but most didn't, and everybody was willing to do that this year, and that reduces the density further. Please remember, and we say this every year, that our teachers are not just teaching at St. James. They have other duties. They have dorm duty, they have sports and activities, and they have weekend duty every 3rd weekend. And frankly, being here without a break, that is very challenging for them as well. And then teaching online and in person is very difficult to do, to gather the class, to make sure that they're not losing their online students as they allow the in-class students to establish and maintain that classroom dynamic. And of course, all of our students benefit from that, and they're getting very good at it. And last spring they were just teaching online, and that was a much more sort of individual, into the void style of teaching, which was not, frankly, as good or as effective for our students, who are relational teenagers and therefore social learners. And so by teaching in this way in class with active class participation, that provides that same dynamic for our students at home. So it's just a very difficult thing to do, but they make it look easy. And then my thanks and appreciation to our students, to those on campus who have returned with such evident gratitude and enthusiasm. It's just wonderful to see them. They're very good about wearing masks and following our protocols on campus. And they're doing without, frankly, and handling it. And that's hard for teenagers to do, just developmentally. I don't need to tell parents that. And they're doing it really well. I mean, our sports teams are not competing with other schools. Our musicians have, their off-campus teachers aren't here on campus with them. The choristers are wearing masks and singing in smaller groups. Drama has to be very careful how it practices and performs. And it's not our usual choices in the dining room when we have meals. There's some choice, but nowhere near what there used to be with our typical sort of a la carte American approach to eating. And our students are fine with that, and they're eating well, and they're enjoying their time together. Those at home, attending class is obviously very challenging virtually, and getting their work done, and frankly, and I'll be honest about this, for many of our students at home, particularly the ones in America, the students at the local schools aren't working as hard as you are. And that's something you see on a kind of a daily basis. And it shows your ambition and your eagerness to learn, that you are, able to, get to class and get your work done and handle a full load academically. Our international students who have made such an extraordinary sacrifice, those who have traveled back to campus, some of them staying here all summer in order not to deal with the border, others going through as much as 3 weeks of quarantine. It really is remarkable. And our new students, beginning online, and our new students here at school, it's a very different year to be beginning at St. James. And I'm impressed by how happy they are, how much they enjoy the school. I hear this about our virtual students from their teachers, particularly our second and third formers, who are, second formers entirely new, third formers largely new. It's really, they're really engaging online and really being an active part of their classes and clearly becoming St. James students. Our students on campus really I'm so impressed by how much they like it. I was talking to a third former the other day who was just telling me, who's traveled some distance within America to be here, and he was just telling me how much he loves the school and appreciates our size and our culture and all the closer relationships that come with that. Finally, I do want to thank our parents. I want to thank all of you for choosing us and staying with us in these extraordinary times and supporting us in our efforts to keep your children safe. Sometimes we send out disappointing news, particularly to local parents who want to visit on the weekends or whatever. And I have to tell you, whenever we've had to do that, the response has been 10 to 1. And that's actually quantifiable and accurate in support of our decision. Our parents are very clear that their first priority and just as our first priority is to keep our students and our faculty safe, and they are very, very supportive of that, even when it goes against what they might particularly or more individually want to do. So thank you for that, and thank you for understanding this common challenge that we all share at this time. What I would like to do now is just make 4 general points that I think speak to what we're doing now at school and this time. First of all, I want to review with you our priorities as a school, how we make our decisions, and what matters the most, the second most, the third most, the fourth most. All of it mattering very much. And then secondly, standardized tests and the college application process. I want to say a few words about that might be of particular interest to parents of 5th and 6th formers. And then thirdly, the challenge for teenagers to develop independence and resilience and a mature sense of self, and for parents to support them in this during these challenging times. The proverbial roots and wings talk, because I think frankly the pandemic and our concern about the pandemic creates particular challenges. And then the annual fund. I do want to speak to all of you to make sure you new parents understand what the annual fund is, and stress the importance of that support for the school and how parents really need to participate in that. So my 4 points. First of all, our priorities. Our first priority, as I've said earlier, is the health and safety of our students, our staff, and our teachers. And I know that you all understand that, and I have been, again, very impressed by your support for that. That's the first priority. That's why we're not playing games against other schools. That's why outside coaches and music teachers are not, coming to campus. That's why we've not been allowed to, that's why we decided not to have commuting students, just to maintain this safer bubble that we're in a position to do. That's priority number one. Priority number two is the emotional health and moral and spiritual growth of our students. Really concerned for them that they grow emotionally and morally in all the ways that St. James encourages them and helps them to do. Now, ultimately, and really, we can't do that virtually as well as we can do that here on campus, which is why we have made that effort to regather as a school and to be on campus, which is then better for any students who still remain at home because they are joining virtually an active campus and engaging in an actual class. But everything that happens here, the ways they relate to each other, to adults other than their parents, their responsibilities and opportunities with leadership and service, performance, all of this is really an important, very important aspect of their emotional growth and education. And you really can't do this with everybody individually on the other side of a computer screen. So that is why we have made this effort and why we're so grateful that we've been able to do this so safely so far. Thirdly, the academic quality of our program. And that's to say, we are very concerned that we cover the content, and this was more of an issue, frankly, last spring when we couldn't gather on campus than it is now in the fall that we can. But, Algebra 2, you have to do all of Algebra 2, and many, frankly, American schools, particularly in this area, kind of sort of did it. But, if Algebra 2 meets once a week virtually, then that's not covering the material. And there is a content aspect to secondary education, to the subjects that they learn, particularly in math and in foreign language, but also in history and science and in English. And then also skills that they really develop the academic skills that we want them to, that they are learning to analyze and to write well, to make an argument that is convincing and accurate, and to participate in class discussion. And again, that's why we wanted to gather class really and virtually in order to do that. And fourthly, athletics and the arts. This is, they need to grow and develop physically and to just play and sing and create and do all, and really just have that outlet for their creative energy. And also they need to be on teams, and they need to be working together and creating a common sound and all the things that our students do in our very developed extracurricular programs. And we are able to do that now on campus, but we're not playing games, and we're not, hosting concerts or singing high mass in chapel. So that's not happening yet. But the teams are gathered, the choir is gathered, students are, developing their athletic, musical, artistic, dramatic talents. And that is a key aspect of their education, which again is another reason why we wanted to get back to campus. But again, it's in that order. So as you, work with us in decisions that we have to make, understand our priorities. Our first priority is the health and safety of our students. The second, their emotional health and moral and spiritual growth. The third, the academic quality of our program, both content and skills. And the fourth, athletics and the arts. And frankly, as I read in the newspaper about debates in local public schools and private day schools, I think sometimes those priorities are different than ours, and I just want to be clear with you as to what ours are, and I know that you support that because that's why you've chosen us. Secondly, on standardized tests, I've been watching, and Mr. Batson, Mr. Harry and I have been talking about this for some time. Colleges and universities have been increasingly unhappy with the kind of applicant that the standardized tests are kind of rising to the top for them. They're not necessarily the applicants they want to enroll. So it is not a surprise to me that they are claiming the opportunity of the pandemic and how difficult it is to do standardized testing, in large measure to drop them. And we have, some university systems and liberal arts colleges that have just, said maybe they're optional or we're not even going to look at them. And this gives them the occasion to do that. And I think there's an aspect that to kind of admissions thinking on the university and college level that they want to do that. And I'm not sure that our parents, particularly our international parents, quite understand that standardized tests are not going to be as important during the next 2 years and maybe permanently as they have been heretofore. And so what does that mean? That means that grades matter more, and they matter, and students need to be focused on doing well in their classes and making that effort that produces the best result. And happily, with fewer distractions, this is a very good time to do that. Also, extracurriculars are more important. What you're able to do here on campus in terms of your extracurricular activities, the skills you are developing in athletics, music, the arts, and leadership, all of that is more important. And that this provides, I think, ultimately a great opportunity for us as a school that really has this fuller program and is able to, quantify it and present it as we support our students applying to college, to do that, frankly, more successfully. Our students have always placed above their SATs when it comes to college placement or above their ACTs, but now I think they may be just relying on their grades, the recommendations from us, and kind of their school and off-campus activities. So that is really where they need to focus. And they do benefit from the integrity of our grading system. St. James is known for having real grades that reflect the actual effort. And many colleges and undergraduate programs are, work with us already confident that, they know what a B student at St. James will look like on their campus, or an A student or a C student. And that gives them, and we've worked with schools for years about this, so they have, our students will have that ability going forward. The fullness, again, of our program, and then our own relationships with admissions offices and our whole recommendation system. The fact that we're able to present our students more fully. But I do think this will give a particular opportunity for students who perform better than their testing, which frankly is a lot of our students. They may have more opportunity in these next 2 years with our full support, and that will be, I think, encouraging to watch. But again, my key message here is for those parents who frankly obsess on the scores and the testing, they just aren't going to be as important in the American system for the foreseeable future. There may be some exceptions, but if you take a look at this, colleges and universities are stepping away from them. The third point, roots and wings. As adolescents develop in relationship to their parents who love and protect them and dream for them, in adolescence, they begin to develop independence and they begin to assert distance. This is just how they grow up. And there's a wonderful book about this that came out about 30 years ago called Reviving Ophelia. And it's about girls growing up in America and how this plays out in relationship to their parents. But it's obviously true for boys as well. And it's just true for all teenagers. So what you've done here as parents, very wisely and very appropriately, is you've chosen this strong community with these full programs and real appropriate challenges to give your children that independence and that opportunity to discover themselves, to develop interpersonal intelligence, intelligence about other people, and intrapersonal intelligence, intelligence about themselves, and a self-identity that's resilient and ambitious, venturous, which is independent from your own. This has taken a hit with the pandemic, with all of our students last spring, at home with their parents, learning from home, and now, some of our students continuing to do that, and it's really challenging at home. I'm aware of that because you're trying to make sure that your child gets her work done. He stays focused, but your mom, your dad, you're not, the teacher, you're not, Father Dunnan. And normally we bear this burden for you. So just some advice. I think it's really very important, if your child is still off campus, that you make sure that he or she has relationships with adults other than you, that they're aunts and uncles, neighbors. There are trusted adults that they can have good conversation with, frankly, sometimes about you. And just to say, sometimes need to talk about me to you. I mean, they need that chance to kind of work through with a trusted adult, what's the good approach, help them to hear what you're saying, but from a different voice with a different perspective. Also, use us here. Reach out to teachers, and particularly the advisor, any of us here in administration, if we can help you to have productive conversation with your students, even when they're off campus. Always happy to set up a FaceTime or make a call and to really have that conversation, even though they're not here physically with us. Also, if they are here, I think some parents have gotten into the habit of being more in their business than they should be, because they've been home for so long and you've been working so closely with them. And also because you're afraid in some ways, and the world is changing so dramatically around us, that we have noticed that we have parents who are just constantly texting and have a great need to be in touch with their child, honestly, 7-8 times a day. And that's just developmentally counterproductive. And this is what happens if you're over-engaged with your child. And what happens is they shut down, or they get angry, they shut you out, and it all just becomes too intense and too emotional, because they do have the emotional need to develop their own identity and pursue and develop their own agenda. So be mindful of that. 5th and 6th form parents, be mindful of that in relationship to your child if he or she is applying to college. That is, her process, his process. That's not the parent applying, that's the child applying, any more than the St. James School applying. And, try to, make sure that the I's are getting dotted and the T's are crossed, but don't get over-involved in that. And then again, feel free to reach out to us to make sure that everything is being done appropriately, and we can be that additional adult voice. Finally, the annual fund. If I could speak to that for a moment. The annual fund provides about 10% of our cash budget every year. It's our second largest source of income in terms of the operating budget to the year. It is supported by trustees, alumni, past parents, friends, and staff, as well as by current parents. Last year, several current parents saved us because they were eligible for a boarding refund that most of them, frankly, let me be honest, I think it was about a third to a half of them gave back to the school either fully or in part as part of the annual fund. So the parent cash contribution to the annual fund last year if you look at the annual report, was larger than it's been in the past, and that saved us in terms of our cash budget. Participation, however, was down, and I think I'm sure because of distress and distraction at home, many parents, or again, I guess it was about a quarter of our parents didn't give. And that is not something we can carry forward. It's very important that every parent support the annual fund. If you're not in a position to make, a large gift, that's fine. What's important is that you give, and that you do it now, do it early. The financial year is July 1 for us, begins July 1 and goes through June 30th. But find that opportunity, go online, use your credit card, send a check, but whatever way works best for you, monthly or whatever. But it really is your way of saying thank you to your child's teachers, appreciating their hard work, and supporting the overall budget for all of our students. If you're able to make a more substantial gift, we do have that cash goal as well, and we do need that support. So feel free to call Margaret McWigan in the development office, or Greg Wilson, who works on the annual fund, me if you have any questions, and see how you can support us. But the annual fund really is the kind of bread and butter of the school right after tuition, and we frankly could not support faculty raises this year or the kind of program that we're delivering for all of our students if we did not have that support. And then always remember this: any building here, any land that's purchased, any sort of improvement to the fabric of the school is also given. And it's given by people who already give to the annual fund, but then give an additional capital gift as well. And our endowment income, which is the third largest contribution to our cash budget, just a little lower than the annual fund, that has been built by people who have given to that aspect of the school as well. So to give you an example, our fine arts building, which we're completing and moving into, is a $7.5 million building that was entirely given to the school by past parents, alumni, friends, some current parents, in addition to their support for the annual fund. So if you're able to help with that, please do. If you know somebody or a foundation that can help with that, give me a call. But mainly all of us, however we're able to help, do need to participate. So I will end with the school's motto: every good gift and every perfect act of giving is from above. And that opportunity, and it's from the Epistle of St. James, and who is our patron, and St. James of Jerusalem. And what we're learning there, and what St. James is teaching us, is that we have this opportunity to join in a giving life, to join in the miracles and the power of God. And to be on the receiving end of this great miracle and not to participate in it yourself is losing a spiritual and a valuable opportunity. So I hope every parent will give. I hope that you will share that with your children, encourage them to be givers in their lives as well, and set that very helpful model for them. So God bless you all, and welcome to our virtual open house, and just thank you for being with us, and know that we pray for you.